We're hearing private member statements. I call the member for Kira.
Thank you, Mr Acting Speaker. I rise today on a very important issue, particularly in the northern suburbs of my community, and that is the ongoing problems we're having with the South Coast train timetable. This is an issue, Mr Acting Speaker, that I have been raising now for some time. Countless representations I've made, requests for meetings, seem to go on deaf ears. I do want to take this opportunity at the outset to acknowledge that my colleague, the member for Kiama, recently met with myself and other local residents and interest groups to talk about these concerns, and I certainly hope that he will take this issue up. This has been an issue that is causing a great deal of frustration in the northern suburbs of the Illawarra. The northern suburbs of the Illawarra is home to the largest commuter population in the entire region. We have many people who work each and every day in Sydney, southwestern Sydney and western Sydney, and who are forced to use this timetable that is not meeting their needs. Rather than, Mr Acting Speaker, making a few timetable adjustments, what the government has decided to do is build a new car park at Thirroul. Whilst a new car park at Thirroul will allow for additional car parking spaces, what it will not do is reduce the pressure on this train station and the surrounding areas. And the reason for this is quite simple. The car park is some distance away, but more importantly than that, to get to where they need to go, commuters are required to go past two car parks at Woonona and at Ostomy if they are travelling from the south and the north. Mr Assistant Speaker, this remains a key issue, a critical issue for a community that is heavily reliant on public transport services. It is a community that needs good rail links. It's a community that expects good rail links. Mr Assistant Speaker, I do acknowledge that my colleague, the member for Kiama, has joined in the House for this discussion, and as I said earlier, acknowledge his efforts in coordinating a meeting with several groups from the electorate in and around the Thirroul area. Mr Assistant Speaker, it is important that this issue get resolved. I don't want to see two things happen. One, a continual pressure put on Thirroul and its surrounding areas by people being forced to go there to catch a train that they rely on. And two, quite frankly, a waste of public assets in terms of the existing commuter car parks that are both at Woonona and, of course, at Ostomy. These are not cheap. They're not cheap for any government of any persuasion. They are important issues upon which we need to face, and the issue of public transport in the northern suburbs of the Illawarra is absolutely critical. We are in a very finite area in terms of our ability to get up and down to Sydney. Essentially, people have two options, which is rail or motor vehicles. If we start to make it more difficult for people to use public transport, if we make it harder for people to use public transport, then we are going to have a situation where more and more people each and every day are forced to use their motor vehicle to get to and from where they need to go, particularly in Sydney. Mr Acting Speaker, this is not what any government should want. It's certainly not what we need in the Illawarra region. We're not asking for much. What we're asking for is some small but deliberate alterations to the timetable to allow for a much more efficient and effective use of both commuters' time but also existing infrastructure that exists within the region. What we don't want to see is people driving past perfectly good commuter car parks to have to go to Thirroul, fight to get a car park, and at the same time put longer trip journeys for them each and every day on what is already a very large commuter distance as it is. I thank the House for listening to this. I urge the Minister for Transport to take these facts into consideration, and I look forward to continuing to make sure that this issue gets raised on the floor of this place until we get a more positive outcome for the people of the northern suburbs of the Illawarra.